Hi Gaon. I am Jacaro Toro, and on this channel I talk about Australian Aboriginal languages, predominantly about languages in the big Pama-Nyungan language family. But anyway, in a number of videos now I have been talking about verb classification and the complex verb constructions found in verb classifying languages in the north and the northwest of Australia. And I have been illustrating this with examples from Ngarla, the Ngarla language of the Pilbara region of Western Australia, quite far north in the Pilbara region. So, in order to wrap up this discussion about verb classification in Ngarla, I have examples of a few verbs here, complex verbs that stand out. And first we have jandigari, which appears to be a stative verb. And therefore it stands out among the kari verbs in Ngarla. So warangora is a type of eucalypt they have in Australia, river red gum tree in English. So river red gum trees, you can see that it's plural over here because here we have present tense, epenthetic element and third person plural suffix. So river red gum trees are standing pagan on the uneven riverbank. So this verb doesn't fit in the overall scheme of things that I have been describing in the language. Here we have the verb korapi. As I said in a previous video, pi denotes verbs of violent action. There is no violent action involved here though. This is an inherently negative verb as it so happens. So what we have here is ngonyingara paragau warangau. That man from another country in the Aboriginal sense. Korapiri does not know or recognize Marapigorinya. Marapigori is the Ngarla name for Port Hedland in Western Australia. So that man from another country does not know or recognize the Port Hedland area. Also, the nya verbs, the C category, they denote mental processes or activities that include a mental component, at least. And this is a verb that doesn't fit among the other Ngarla verbs in this category. My consultant told me that nigari nyari and nigari mari was more or less the same thing. Yes, and more or less is a bit troubling in that context, because what more or less exactly means in this context is still a little bit unclear to me. But anyway, nyayingo, this one with the ergative suffix nigari nyari is assisting in fight. Evidently this means to assist in fight. Palupara. So this one is helping another one in the fight, assisting him in the fight. So these three verbs don't really fit, they stand out in their verb classes. We also have the 7 telic verbs with ma that I described in a previous video. They don't fit in the larger ma category. So what are we to make of this? Well, the thing is, the sad fact is that we don't know anything about the languages of this area prior to the 1860s. Well, there are things we can infer, of course. For example, verb classification as an idea has obviously spread, and also a number of verb class markers. At some point, verb classification has come in to the Ngarla language. That is obvious. But we know very little about what has happened later. It has been established that uninflecting verbs, like these two, actually not as this one, since this is an adverb, as I mentioned in the previous video, but uninflecting verbs can be borrowed between languages. And also, as it so happens, in agglutinative languages, such as the Pama-Nyungan ones, whole verbs can easily be borrowed. So who knows? Perhaps these three verbs have been borrowed at a later point in time after the development of the verb classification system in Ngarla. This is also a possibility for the 7 telic verbs with ma. Either they constitute their own category, as I described in the previous video, or they have all been borrowed. We will never know, because we have no information prior to the 1860s, and unfortunately rather little information prior to the 1900s. This is something we have to live with, I'm afraid. But in this way, I would like to wrap up the discussion about verb classes in Ngarla. So, I guess I'm not going to need my article from the Australian Journal of Linguistics anymore in the near future. So let's do like this. And I will see you later.